shared screen.
Awesome. Cool. So we will get started to honour everybody's time. Thank you for being here. We do really appreciate it. Yep.
I just dropped my last little update in maybe a minute ago.
Well, is it not live? Like, even if
the
slide's here, do I need to refresh the slide?
Just do a quick refresh. No, just do a quick refresh, please.
Just do a quick refresh. I can do
Your
that for you,
Chromebook, hit
Steve.
the refresh button. Oh, hang on. No, sorry.
On my Chromebook?
Yeah.
Yeah, on my Chromebook. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Right. Can't hear you. So is that my end or is that your end?
Must be something here's end.
Yeah, must be. Yeah.
Okay, everyone else can hear us okay?
Oh, look at
awesome.
That. Love it.
All right, let me just do a quick check, Steve. Yeah, there's content in there.
Hooray!
I think. Is there? Or did you just delete them all together? No, just kidding, Steve. Just kidding, Steve. It's in there.
Just deleted everyone's except mine.
Yeah, we fully trust you. All right. Let me reshare that. Okay. So, is that easier for people to see? Alrighty. Oops, start slideshow. And I'm just going to ask Rachel to start us off.
Kia ora koutou. Ka karakia tātou. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ke uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hi ake ana te atakura, he teo, he huka, he hauhu, tihei, mauri ora.
Thanks, Rachel. All right, so we are going to focus on forms tonight because we had somebody ask for it. So that was really exciting. So we had a request for forms, so we're going to focus on forms. Jeremy is not able to be with us tonight, but he's made us a couple of cute little videos for some admin console tips. Again, one of those tips has come from a question that somebody asked after last time session, so that's really cool. Gemini in Forms, Steve, some of us have yet to get Gemini in Forms. It's coming. We're going to have a look at a cool tool, some favourite updates from Steve, some AI integrations, and as always, Q&A. Feel free to jump in anytime, either in the chat or, when I'll mic some forms too. But we will get started. I thought these were set to play automatically. Maybe not. We had trouble. Carla, I tested all these beforehand to make sure that they played automatically, and they did. Don't you love working with technology? Steve, should I not be able to make it play when it's in slideshow?
Yeah, you should do.
3 top seconds. Play it.
Yeah.
Why is it not letting me play it?
Very strange.
Yeah.
Let's just move on. I can do a little song and dance routine if people need later.
Yes, please do.
Yes, we can. And I'm sure we will get it to go on the recording. I'll make sure that it fits in the recording. All right. So forms is our first one. So one of the things that I used with my students last year, and I got this tip from Tony Vincent. So down the bottom, I have linked Funky Forms, which was his newsletter that I saw this on. And it was around using response validation. So if you set a question that is a paragraph, then you get the option down the bottom to choose response validation. And when you choose response validation, you can choose either a length that you want students to have for their answer. So here's response validation down here. Or you can choose a response expression. So you might have a particular response that you want them to put in. And if you type that in the response validation and they don't put exactly what you've put, they're going to get some kind of error message. So what I did with my class last year was I just asked them for a quick exit. Like, what was your main takeaway from today's lesson? I chose response validation and then I gave it a length. And because my kids were all into 6-7 last year, we made 67 characters. So they could not enter anything that was more than 67 characters. And if it was longer than 67 characters, they got a message that said, have another go. And they couldn't submit the form until they had used the minimum number of characters. So if they'd only used like 50, they had to have another go. So it had to have at least 67 characters. And then when I was exploring this idea, I asked Gemini if it could give me any other ideas of how I could use response validation in forms. And it came up, yes, there is a link for the slides. Thanks, Rachel. Good question. Carla or Rachel, can you drop the link for the slides in? Thank you. It came up with these kind of like functions that you can put in. Now, I know it's really hard to see on the screen, but you'll be able to make it bigger when you have the slides. And there was this function that means that the students have to start with a capital letter. And so I tried it, and my response was, don't forget to use your capital letter. So then I put my response in as no idea with no capital letter, and I got this message saying, don't forget your capital letter. So I could not submit this unless I had used a capital letter. So what I did was I went into Gemini, and I've copied for you the I guess the code, the format, whatever you call it, and the job that it does that you could use in your response validation. So there was the basic way of being able to use, students use a / for fractions, so they could put a fraction as their answer. There was a way where they had to use a proper noun that had to have a capital letter. So just some really cool ideas of using response validation to tailor what you want your students or your teachers to give you back for your response. And I know that when I was working with my team last year, response validation was something that teachers didn't really even know was there. So that's my little tip for this week. And I'm going to pass over to, I think, Carla, is this your tip?
Yeah, I mean, don't you love it? I'm the one who's like, oh, too much typing. So what are some alternatives in forms if you have the slowest typers of all time, typists, which I have often had. And I just thought there were just some cool things that may or may not be obvious to you. So I just wanted to provide some tips. So the first one was that you can choose file upload as your question type to allow your students to snap a photo or add a screenshot to actually show you examples, kind of a portfolio style. Or the demo form that I've got here is something that they're really proud of. And I thought that it could be really cool to mash this with the mic embedded in forms that hasn't yet been released. But when it is, the question that would follow could ask them to give an oral reflection on why they're so proud of that piece. And I think when those two are ready to work in tandem, it's going to really level the playing field from some of those young people who, typing might actually stop them. Keeping in mind, of course, that we can still use the shortcut to open the voice typing within a form directly, which is, of course, your launcher +H on a Chromebook. But the tricky part that I always found is some students just weren't articulating clearly enough for that to be picked up to type accurately. So from my point of view, I was trying to think about different ways that we could move away from typing using forms so that students could share in other ways. And Steve, we're expecting the mic to be embedded in forms and rolled out later this year according to the roadmap, which will mean that we can have a fantastic spreadsheet that would show the student responses with the file upload photo and then also with an audio reflection as well, which I think is going to be a game changer.
Thanks, Carla. When I was looking at this earlier, I know you said without another app or add-on, which is really fantastic. But something that I've been playing with one of the classes I've been working in this term is the Moat extension. And it works on forms, and the accessibility functions that they have embedded in Moat and promote and are continuing to develop in Moat are absolutely fantastic, and they work seamlessly with Google Forms. So if you are wanting to explore before the mic embedded comes out later this year, then you might want to explore Moat, because I'm finding it really helpful with those students that typing is a bit of a barrier, but they can still share their learning super easily. All right, next tip is going to come from Rachel.
Oh,
no, sorry, Steve had a question. Yeah.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, with that response validation, one thing you can use it for is to make your own breakout games. So if you want to make a breakout,
I'm going to talk about that soon.
It's a great idea, and for that, I'll pass it over to Rach.
I love that. So my quick tip is about using school templates. I have a range of ideas on the next slide. One of them is breakouts. So to set up a school template, you basically set up your Google form however you like it. You can put your school header on it. Whatever it is for, it may just be a general branding type situation, or you might have sports team sign-ups. But what you can do is go to your template gallery, and then to submit a template, you just click on the Submit Template button, find the form that you have created. I always recommend that you turn on Submit a copy of this form instead of the original, just in case. There's always a just in case, and then submit that to the gallery, and then that will be available to everyone in your domain or your teachers to be able to utilize that form that's already got your school branding on it. It's already got the colors that you want, the fonts that you want, and everything is sorted, so you don't have a whole lot of random and just plain purple default forms going out from your school. So that is one. And then Donna, if you flick to the next one, look at that, Steve-O. The first one, forms. What are they good for? Absolutely everything. So for your kaiako, I've given you 10 really quick ideas. Digital escape rooms. If you were one of those breakout EDU early adopters back in the day, digital escape rooms is exactly the same scenario, and then using that validation that Donna was talking about for the clues. So the kids must enter the correct code to unlock the next section of the form. Choose your own adventure stories are always a hit. If you Google those, there are thousands of YouTube videos on how to create your own. Using your differentiated learning pathways for kids. There's a whole lot of really good ideas. One of my ideas that I adopted in the year 5 and 6 space when I was teaching at that level was the daily high water check-ins, and we always had that on our class site, so the kids would know that they would go there, do their daily check-in, because I had a lot of kids that were, you know, trying to regulate before they actually got into their learning, and if they just had a chance to offload, it might be as simple as choosing an emoji to tell me how they were feeling, or I also gave them a space where they could type in whatever they wanted to type in, or even upload their own image or GIF if they wanted to. SLT, couple of things that I did at my previous school is we set up a template, just like I showed you before, for walkthrough observations, just getting the feeling of the class, talking to a few kids, putting in their reflections for the term. PLD requests, leave applications. I had that on our school intranet, so if anyone needed leave for a particular reason, they could just fill out that form and then it would go to the person who would okay that leave. Obviously, staff wellbeing pulse checks, end of term reviews, enrollment whānau surveys, all of those things that can be done through a Google form. It just saves so much time for everybody. Yeah, that's me.
Some awesome ideas, Rachel. Thank you. And some of those templates, the link that I've put on the first slide to Tony Vincent's form page actually has a number of templates on there that you can just click on and copy the form and make your own template for those as well. He's even got, I noticed on there, instructions for how you can change the URL so that you can get somebody else to share if you want to. Natasha, so with leave applications, is there a notification sent when the form is filled in?
Oh, wow.
Yep, so what you can do is you can set up that in the back end so it gets sent to the person that okays the form. So, oh, go Steve-O, what are you going to say?
No, keep going. You said so. Keep going.
And there is actually, I'm hoping that in the future that we can set up, it gets sent to multiple users, so the owner of the form and or the person that okays the leave. But at the moment, it's the person who sets up the form. So for me, it was the principal of the school, so I just helped her set up the form and we had the validation be sent to her as an email. Does that make sense? I hope.
And
Yeah,
last session, I went through Workspace Studio, and Workspace Studio allows you to set up an agent that will do something based on a form being filled out. And one of the step throughs with that is on the form fill out, email this person, then email that person with the parts of the form as well. So Workspace Studio works in with forms and sheets. So you can now set up those agentic notifications.
Awesome.
Love.
Thank you, Steve. I sent up a workspace automation last week after we were talking about it to send me into my Google chat some important emails that were coming from a particular person, but I got overwhelmed with messages, so I turned it off. It worked really well. Like I loved the workflow, it was great, but I didn't really think through what I was actually setting it up for. So yeah, it's a great automation. Does anyone want to throw in anything else about forms before we move on? Does anyone else want to share in the chat or come off mute and share an idea that they've used for forms? That would be a no. All right, so we will keep moving. I don't know why these aren't playing. Anyway, I'm going to work it out next time, Carla, because they are awesome. So we are moving into these are from Jeremy. Oh my God, I hope I can get these to work for Jeremy. So he has created us, the first one comes off a question that came after last time about how do you set up roles in admin? And we really do need this to play for it to work. So why it's loading, why is it not playing, Steve?
I do not know. I actually had a quick look at your setup, and you'd set it up perfectly. So that's really strange. Do you want to try and unshare and
yeah,
and reshare it if it reloads?
Yeah.
Because it played for me.
Or if I come out this way, let's try again and see if we can get it to play from this view, maybe. No. All right. Let's, can we come out of the share view from here? Exit slideshow. Doesn't even want to exit. Okay, I'm going to unshare people and then reshare and see if we can get it going, because he's gone to all the effort of making it for us. We need to be able to watch it.
Yeah, Glenn, it's a good point. I was playing it from the slideshow for me as well, and they were wonderful.
Yeah.
It's weird that it won't play on the preso.
Yes. So let me try from here. What if I do this? Here we go. Can you guys see it?
No.
You're not seeing it. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Do you want me to try and do a present?
Yeah, go Steve. See if it'll work for you.
Very strange.
Thank you for your patience, people. I'll stop sharing.
I mean, it's one of those things we all know what it's like to work with tech when you're standing in front of a class of people and they do it does not work.
Yeah.
All right, let me try and do this. I will make this a little bigger. And go to.
Yeah, it's great when we have tech issues, Rach, because it's what happens all the time. It's real. And so in the classroom, this is why I encourage teachers to do it, because it happens to everyone and it's a great learning curve. Oh, look, it's working for Steve.
Please welcome Jeremy with his top 2 Google Admin Console tips.
All right, I'll just.
Kia ora, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. Jeremy can't be here tonight, so here's a little message from his long-lost American cousin James, otherwise known as the closest-looking AI avatar he could find, saying he hopes you find these tips useful, and that you are welcome to reach out if you need any support with anything admin console related. Anyways, enough from me. Let's go to the next slide and see this week's admin console tips on creating custom admin roles and updating users, aliases, and alternative email addresses.
Kia ora team, Jeremy Ferguson here with another admin console tip. We had some feedback from the last session asking how to actually create those custom admin roles. So I'm going to take you through that now. So to start us off, we're going to go to Account and then Admin Roles. And we're going to go up to here where it says Create New Role. We're then going to give it a name. We'll just call it Password Reset. And it's always worth putting in a description. So for those in teams with the ability to reset passwords for learners, Cool, and then I'm going to click on continue. Cool, so once we have created the role and put the description in it, we now need to select the privileges that the custom admin role is going to have. And for this specific situation around resetting passwords, we want to go down to where it says organizational units, and we'll click on read. Don't need to create or delete for that. We'll then continue to scroll down to where it says under users, we're going to click on reset password and force password change. And that's probably about as much as we need for that specific test case. Obviously you can add more if you'd like to, but do be mindful of what you're allowing people to have. And from there we click on continue. Cool, and then it's just a case of adding the members. So we can go ahead and add our people that we want to have access to it. And they will then have that ability. So once we click on assign role, they will have that ability, and they just go to the admin console, admin.google.com, put their password in. They will have a limited view of what you see on the landing screen on the admin console. As always, any questions, feel free to reach out. Kia ora.
I love that he's giving us a sense of being at school, that he just wants us to feel like we are in that education environment while he's showing us that. And then on the next slide, he's got another tip. So Steve, can you play that one too?
Jump in there real quick, and if you do add this custom admin role, it will force that person to have two-factor authentication as well. So anyone in an admin role is now forced to have two-factor authentication. So just remember that you do have to have that second factor authentication, whether it's your phone. If you don't use your phone, there's security chips and all those sorts of things. Or I did hear someone who didn't want to use a phone or buy a security chip, just printed out a whole lot of security codes and was using those as two-factor authentication. Not the most safe, but anyway, you got to have two-factor authentication if you have an admin role. There you go. All right, Jeremy.
Kia ora team, this is the second admin tip for this session, and this one is around updating users. So it's quite common in schools from my experience that people change their names or need to have their email address and their name updated, and this is how you do it without needing to go and create a brand new user or a brand new account for someone. So for example, let's say Jane here, she's gone and got married and her surname is no longer Smith, and we want to change that for her and also change her email address to be reflective of her new name. And so the way that we do it is we search for the user, bring it up, and just go down here to where it says update user. And then I can go ahead, let's say her surname is now Johns, for example, and I can also then go in and change her email address. And the great thing about it is that it will update that. And what it does with that original Jane Smith is that becomes what's called an alias, or another email address that is tagged to that user. So if someone wants to email her and they don't know that she's changed her name and her email address, they can still email jane.smith and it will still go to her. They can still share stuff to her. It'll just mean that when she signs in, she's now using that new email address. And if I hit refresh on that, you'll see that that's going to update. And if I go down to where it says user information, you can see that under alternate email addresses, you can see that Jane Smith one is still sitting there. So great for if you have people change names, or if there's, or also if you want to have different variations on people's names, you can do that. Another one as well is, let's say for example, whilst we're looking at these alternate email addresses, let's say Jane is the person who's in charge of the BYOD for the school, and you want to have that email address listed on the school website but not hers. What you can do is under alternate email addresses, you can go and write, for example, you can do BYOD, and that will then make it so that if someone wants to email BYOD, that email address is tagged to her account, which means that any emails that go to that one will go to her inbox as well. So that's how to update a user and to add an alternate email address, which is also known as an alias. Kia ora, have a good one.
Awesome. Any questions about either of those two things? Steve is ready to answer them.
Both of them are super useful. The password reset one is a fantastic one to give to your librarian or your text-based person, so you don't have to kind of find whoever looks after your admin console and try and ring them and get a thing sorted. So those are 2 awesome tips.
Yeah, we gave them to all of our year 4, 5, and 6 teachers, because then they could change the passwords for the kids and the kids didn't have to keep running to one specific person to do it.
Amazing.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. You're driving now.
Righto.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, Jeremy's details, so we'll move on from those.
It's now time for our One Cool Tool segment.
So
Right.
this was something I threw in because I've had, I don't know how many teachers have asked me about this in the last couple of weeks. So we have quite a few teachers who are now creating infographics in Notebook LM, and either there's some spelling that's not quite correct or there's an image that they just want to switch out. So they've been importing their infographic into Canva, and then they've been using the grab text and they've been able to change the text, but they haven't been able to change any of the images. But Canva have just recently, in the last couple of weeks, released magic layers. So what you can do now is upload an infographic, an image, click on magic layers, and it doesn't just pull the text out, but it pulls different parts of the graphic out as well. So you can take the one character and you can move him across to the other side. So you can now just take out one part of that infographic and replace it with something from the elements or something that you have from yourself, so that you can personalize those infographics that they're downloading or creating a little bit more bespoke, in a little bit more of a bespoke way. So being able to just have that function to pull out multi-layers as well as the text, and just kind of like AI is doing 80% of that work for you, and then this is your option for the 20%, is that you can then just go in and, you know, kind of play around with the different pieces. Has anyone actually given it a go and wants to add on to anything about magic layers? Yeah, if you haven't tried it, highly recommend it, especially if you are creating sort of those infographics and you just want to tweak them a wee bit. And of course, if you're an educator, hopefully you know that you have got that free Canva account to get all those premium functions for free, which is fantastic. Okay, Steve, we'll move on.
Please welcome Steve, who will be a regular guest sharing his top 2 Google updates with us.
He loved playing that one. Steve, you're muted. Can anyone else hear him? Steve, no sound.
Look at me muting myself and being all polite and then not unmuting myself. It's so good. So this one is latest updates to vids is the ability to use VO in vids. So VO is the video creation tool. And let me go back again. Let me zoom this up a little bit. Here we go. That made zero difference. Fantastic. So what I've done is I'm in vids. On the right hand side there is a little VO button there, and it allows you to then either create from scratch, or where's my laser pointer? There it is. Create from scratch, or to use an existing template. They call it some down the bottom. You get some inspiration. So I can put in my prompt in here. I then put in what's called ingredients, and that is my picture. And then I can put in multiple things and say put them all together as the ingredients for that video. Then it creates the little VO video for me. So there's a little video here of the character jumping over a helicopter. Now if I click it, will that play? Let me just see. Here we go. This is what it looks like. Let it load. Jump out of there, stand up and say hi everyone. So there you go. So that's my little video I created with VO there. So really cool for creating something. And because I'm using the ingredients, it's going to use my face if I want it to, or somebody else's face if that's more exciting. So Vids now has VO in there, and you can give it just the prompt and it'll make something up entirely, or you can use those ingredients. So you could put me and a donkey and a scene in Mexico and put them all together and say the character rides in on a donkey, for instance. So that is VO in Vids up the top right there in the toolbar. Next one is such beautiful, apologies to anybody who loves graphic design, because you can see I don't. So inside of Gems, and Gems obviously are an amazing tool. So this is a creative writing feedback helper gem. Catchy title. There's a couple of things in Gems here. Up the top, name, inside instructions. I've also dropped a direct link into Taharangi, looking at the descriptor for that writing task for English Phase 4. Down the bottom, we can drop in any knowledge. So if it's a rubric or if it's some direct instructions, you can drop it in there. But the new one is this here, the ability to choose the default tool. So when you build your gem, you could switch on guided learning and it will behave in the style of guided learning. So it will be Socratic in method. It will give you a question. It will have that backwards and forwards, but it won't give you the answer. So if you're looking for a creative writing feedback helper and you switch on guided learning, it's not going to say, here is what you should write. It's going to say, what do you think you could change about paragraph 4? Or I noticed paragraph 3 has this at the beginning. What could be better? So we'll actually use that Socratic method of discussion. So you can also do images, you can do canvas, you can do deep research, and you can even create a gem to create music. So you can use Lyria or whatever you say. I don't know. So we're having big arguments about how to say it. So you can use Lyria or the music creating one as your default tool as well. So that's a little update to Gems. Gems are obviously a fantastic tool. Now you can choose the default tool to make the gem work in a specific way. Excellent, Steve. That was great. Next slide, please.
No, before you move on, Steve. Excellent, Steve. But before you move on.
Oh, no. I want to ruin it. There we go.
And if you have limits on, say, the number of images or something that you can use, does that, if you make one in Gem and that tool is used in Gem, that counts towards your limit?
Yeah, it does.
Is that
That's
right?
correct. So, yeah, so it's got Nano Banana there. With Nano Banana, you'll get a certain number, depending on a whole bunch of different things, of the really high quality Nano Banana, the Pro. Then it'll drop back down to a regular image generation, which is still really good for a free tool that sits inside your domain. So yes, it will impact on your usage limits. And also remembering that the create music piece is actually only available for 18+. So if you're going to make a gem that's creating music, it's for 18+ only, or for other teachers. Now, if you want to give it a specific instruction, then share that gem across lots of different people, then they can use that create music as well.
Cool. And now, one more question that other people might want to throw in their thinking around this one. A teacher asked me this week, what is the difference now? Because, you know, Notebook LM has always been sold, or we've always sold to our teachers, as it's only going to draw on your sources. So whatever you upload, it's going to draw on that. But now you can also search the web and add web sources and things into it. So they were asking, when would you use Notebook LM compared to a gem?
Yeah, nice. That's a really good question.
Yeah,
it's a great question. And the main way I explain it is a gem will do exactly the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. A notebook will do multiple different things. So a notebook is like is Gemini, but with a constrained amount of information. A gem is great. Say I'm doing a creative writing feedback helper gem, and I ask it for what are some ways to differentiate this learning for the next steps in learning. The gem doesn't know how to do that because they haven't told it how to do it, so it won't do it. Whereas if I'm doing writing feedback inside of a notebook, for instance, or I'm talking about creative writing in a notebook, I can ask it those questions. So a notebook will do multiple different things. A gem will do one thing over and over again, and that one thing.
Awesome. That was the answer I gave, so I'm glad that I was on the right track.
Right. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Love it.
Awesome. Cool. Any questions about gems before we move on?
One caveat with gems as well, remembering that you do need to turn on Gemini for gems to work. Okay. So one of the distinctions there is that a notebook can be used with just Notebook LM. A gem needs to have Gemini turned on to work. Okay. So that is a distinction between those two tools again. So then we're thinking, where is Notebook a better fit for what we want to do? If we're not turning on Gemini for our year 3s, we might want to use a notebook for them, because that discussion around using an AI tool for any students obviously is a very big discussion. One other thing you can also do is I've also experimented with turning gems into a Canvas app and then sharing that, because that means you don't have to have all of Gemini on. So there's a couple of little things to think about around there. Obviously, if you have Gemini on, Notebook on, use both. If you don't have Gemini on, then think about, right, how could we recreate that gem? And often just copying and pasting the instructions into Canvas and a bit of backwards and forwards with that, well, you can achieve pretty much the same thing.
Cool. Thank you, Steve. All right. Let's go.
Let's go.
It is now time for our ideas for AI uses in education segment.
Fantastic.
Keeping with the theme of Gemini and images, this is something that we have been getting a lot of questions about at school. So I thought it might be something good to drop in this week. I don't know why I didn't think of this before this week, but I created an infographic for teachers. It had one word spelt wrong in it. And I thought, oh God, do I really have to go to Canva and do the grab text for like one word? So then I just put in, correct the spelling. The word was generate, it's spelled wrong. Correct the spelling, generate, and it did it. I was like, why haven't I done this before? Why haven't I just told it to edit it itself, kind of thing? One of the comments that came back from teachers was a couple of them had tried that, and they had found that the resolution had got lower and lower each time they got it to iterate on an edit. So when I did this one that I've got on here, originally the numbers went 1, 5, 2, 4, 3. So then I told it to put them in the right order. We went back and forwards lots of times, and it did actually, the resolution did get a lot less. And so by the time we finished arguing about this, which was about 8 or 9 edits, the text was terrible. So then my last instruction was, now produce it 4K resolution. And the the text was super clear again. So it led me to think about how some of our teachers don't really realize some of the editing and the prompts and the things that you can use in Gemini. So then I just went through and put all the things that I've used. I actually didn't ask Gemini because I just wanted our teachers to get the things that we as teachers have used so far into one infographic. And even things like the ratio, teachers didn't realize that they could go in and say, make it 16:9 or make it 4:6 or make it, and it will make it that for you. The one I've used the most is make a Google form header, and it instantly just sizes it correctly for your Google form header. So giving it those instructions as to the ratio that you want it to be, being able to tell it that you want it 4K resolution, and it will suddenly sharpen everything up. And then also just being able to have conversational edits with it. If there's only 1 or 2 things, you don't have to export it and take it somewhere else. So just a few tips on working with generating images in Nano Banana. I've also down the side found 3 really good blogs from Google themselves with some prompt guiding for Nano Banana, how to generate images, but you do need Education Plus for that blog, the things they talk about in that blog, and then just some image prompt formulas that you can use to create good prompts to give you some great outputs. So those were just some things that we kind of focused on this week, and we'd had teachers, like I said, using it to create a Google form header. We had some teachers that were generating images for writing prompts, and we had one incredibly enthusiastic teacher who was creating her own decodable readers, and she was getting consistent images with consistent characters for multiple pages of her decodables. So just some ideas around how we can work with image generation when we're using AI in our workspace. Next one, Steve, please.
So mine's a nice and simple one. So there's an incredible teacher on this call who set my daughter a Tūranga Waiwai project to explore her family history. And what my delightful, some may argue with that, 11-year-old identified was that when we pulled some of the original images up, that everyone looked quite terrifying. And she wanted to kind of dig into whether or not that was kind of who they were. And so it opened this really cool conversation about not really showing what people were really like, because A, they were really expensive to have photos taken, and B, it took a really long time and you had to sit really still. And so that made it really tricky. So the terrifying woman on the, thank you, Steve, thanks. The terrifying woman on the left here is my daughter's great grandmother. And what was really interesting is that the stories about her was that she was a really loving and caring, doting grandmother. And so what I had Nano Banana do was I inputted the stories from what we know of Mary and asked them to update the photo based on that. And it gave me this much more accurate, beautiful photo over on the right. And what this is really funny is this stemmed from, because I'm the parent who locks my child's Chromebook down, it meant that her teacher couldn't do the screen recording she wanted to. And so it meant that we were doing it in Google Vids, which meant that we could input the photos here so that the photos could be manipulated and changed. Now, what was really fascinating, Steve, and I know we've had this conversation before, is we were initially trying to animate the photos, but because this photo includes a child, that it went against the content restrictions within Nano Banana. So we came with a plan B to identify how we could do this to better reflect. So it's a really simple idea, but it was just such a beautiful learning experience for my daughter. And luckily, her fabulous teacher came up with a plan B for her to record her Tūranga Waiwai without getting too frustrated with her mother.
Ella, that's not, I mean, like you say, it's a simple idea, but it's actually not a simple idea. Like, there's actually a lot of complexity in the conversations around what led to the creation of the second photo. And that's, a lot of what the conversation about AI at the moment is about, how it's depleting students' thinking and it's taking away from their creativity. But those kinds of examples are great examples of actually the creativity side and how it is involving thinking and how it is involving creativity. So I think it's an amazing example. Thank you for sharing. All right, next one, Steve.
Hey, Dean, back over to me. So now that I'm remembering quite swiftly how busy life is inside a school, one of my favorite tools to use is Gemini Live. So Gemini Live, I have on my phone, I have Gemini. So I just open Gemini. The bottom right-hand corner, there is like 3 little lines with the little Gemini star on the top. That is Gemini. Oh, thanks, Steve. He's got the whiz-bangy thing. That is Gemini Live right there, and there are a couple of ways you can interact with Gemini Live. I love the camera mode, so you can turn on your video and you can show Gemini whatever it is that you're looking at. You may have people in your team or department that still love the old school handwritten notes. So you can hover your Gemini Live over those and say, Gemini, look at these notes from our department meeting, turn them into a structured table in a Google Doc and highlight any action points assigned to me. Perfect. Love that. Also, if you're a bit of a non-green thumbed person like myself, you can also hover it over a plant and say, can you identify this tree and tell me its traditional Rongoa Māori uses? One of the other cool things that I like to do is use just the microphone and just talk to it like it's kind of my pedagogical sparring partner. So my prompt there is, I'm thinking of a Year 8 English unit on digital citizenship through a Te Ao Māori lens. I want to focus on the concept of kaitiakitanga in online spaces. and let's build a 4-week high-level outline. Throw 1 week's theme at me at a time, and I'll tell you if it's too meh or if we should pivot. So you could just have a conversation with Gemini Live, like it's your little buddy if you don't have a teaching partner next door, or if you're like me on the drive to work and you're just talking. So that workflow, the streamline, you can talk through those sorts of things. And simply at the end, you can just say, hey, summarize our whole conversation and put it in a table with columns for the week, a learning objective, and a magic hook activity. And then when you get back to your laptop, it's sitting there in your chat history, and then you can just chuck it into a Google Doc and you are good to go. It is about working smarter, not harder. People love that.
I'd love to be in the car driving to work with you, Rachel, to hear your conversations that you're having with it.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to look through my chat history, really, with Gemini. I'm sure Hamish will be able to tell you what my conversations would probably be like.
That's some awesome ways to use it. And I'm pretty sure I saw a few people looking at their phone finding that Gemini Live as you were talking. Thanks, Rachel. All right, Steve, moving on.
Okay, GEG, now it is question time.
So we just had a couple of questions, and I think how to get gems to do the job that you require is an interesting one. So I'm assuming that somebody's created a gem and it doesn't quite do what they want it to do. So anyone's advice on that would be fantastic, and a quick way to explain it. Anyone want to?
You could have a conversation with Gemini Live and say, hey, I'm trying to create a gem. This is what I want it to do. It's not quite giving me the responses that I need. Can you give me some hints and tips on how I might be able to edit my gem to best suit the outcome that I'm after?
And they're probably not going to do the right thing the first time. Like when my lovely wife asks me to do something around here, I often don't do it right the first time because I need more instructions. So yeah, just give it more instructions. Give it more instructions. Jordan, over to you.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. Go back and check the instructions. Make sure they're really clear that you're telling it what you want it to do. And check if you've given it the right information too. Like it bases what it does on the bank of resources you give it. So have you actually given it examples? Have you given it the required information? So if it doesn't have it, it can't do it.
And the other thing I've heard lots of people doing is using Gemini to write the instructions for the gem. So to jump into Gemini and say, this is what I want my gem to do, give me the instructions that I need to give it, and then copying those instructions and putting them into your gem. So trying that might help as well.
And the wonderful Eric Kurtz has it's called edugems.ai, I think. And it's a whole website with examples of gems on it. And yeah, as Jordan was saying, once you've got that, you can then give it different instructions. Point it to New Zealand curriculum. Point it to your specific context. Give it a link from Tahurangi. And yeah, I made it my most popular gem is my cooking coach gem. First thing came out, it gave me a recipe using catfish and told me to use 7 ounces of it. I'm like, I forgot to tell it to use the metric system and food available in New Zealand. So yeah, just go back and iterate on those instructions.
Yeah, and as Jordan said, there is a button in there that helps you with the instructions as well. So that might be good. And the other one, are many primary schools allowing Gemini for their students yet? So Steve, you mentioned Notebook LM. Is that now like no age restriction on that inside of Workspace?
Both of them, because their core services are available for all users if you want to. And I've spoken to a few primary schools who are looking at doing certain things. I know there's a couple of schools up here that use it for feedback loops for students, but also remembering that you can turn Gemini on for a week and then turn it off again, or turn it on for your year 6s and turn it off again. Really, and I know this is not a primary one, but pre-NZQA exams, turn Gemini on for all your seniors and then turn it off again. So you've got the ability to turn it on and off if you don't want it on all the time as well. And Jordan, yeah, great point. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, I made the call for our school, but our approach is until our teachers are confident in using it, we can't be allowing students to have free reign, because we want to make sure that our teachers know how to use it so that they can then teach the students how to use it appropriately. It's also written into our policy because at the time we wrote the policy, the rules were 13 and above. And our students, only a few make it to 13 before they leave the school. But yeah, it's interesting. If you're an admin, you can actually go in and look at the usage of Gemini within your domain. And my proud moment was when I was no longer the top user, mainly because I have it paid in my personal account, but to see that there's teachers using it and delving into it and the things they can do with it, because that's the goal first. It's like anything, we don't teach it until we're confident in it.
And it sounds like Rachel said their school's doing the same, and Hamish says their school's teachers into grips with it, not students yet. We're doing the same. It's not turned down for our primary school students, and nor will it be. It's because we need our teachers to get around it. But we are doing other little things with AI, like we are using things like Say What You See and, little Google Arts and Culture activities to start teaching the students what AI is and how it works, but not actually giving them access to an LLM. Yes, check out the Gemini Educator course for your staff. Good point, Rachel. We are looking at that for our year 7 and 8 students as well. Putting them into the student one because there is now a student one. So we're looking at basing some lessons around it to prepare them for it and then getting them to jump in and do it too. So,
for your littlies,
thank you.
Sorry, I'll just drop that in there. For your littlies is AI quests as well. I don't know if anybody's used this.
Yes, we've used that.
So a cool little gamified way of learning about.
Welcome to AI Quests. My name is Professor Sky, an AI expert and your mentor throughout this learning experience.
Here we go. So we'll stop.
Yeah, I did that with my year 6s, Steve, and I challenged them, and they all found the bits and pieces before me. But yeah, they loved it. So I can highly recommend that one. Anyone else want to add to that conversation before we move on? All right, let's go, Steve.
Yeah, let me jump over. I was playing with something else in the background. There we go.
We're not seeing anything, Steve.
Oh. Next slide. There we go.
We're not seeing your slide, Steve. It's not sharing now.
Okay, sorry.
Really?
Let me go back. That was awesome. Okay, reshare. Here we go.
We are all in the last week of term. We are doing well.
We would love your feedback to help us create mid-evening GEG shows that work for you.
So this is, of course, your chance to fill in the feedback form because Steve has some great swag to give away as little Easter gifts. So we will just paste, if somebody wants to copy that link and paste it into the chat.
I will use Google Lens in my browser to copy the text.
Oh, so is that still working for you? Oh, copy the text. Yes. Yeah. Awesome, Carla, beat you to it though, Steve. But great idea. I love that you could use Google Lens for that. Awesome. Yeah. And we'll give you just a couple of minutes to jump in and fill it out. And then are we doing 3, Steve, or are we going 4 for Easter?
Sure, why not? We can do 3. Let's do 3.
We can do 3. I thought I nearly had you on that on the 4. So
well, isn't 3 the magic number? Wasn't it that Sultan said that?
Well, yeah, but I did think maybe Easter. There might be like an Easter bonus in there. Was just thinking.
Easter bonus.
Yeah, but we will do 3. We will go with 3. So we'll just give you a minute or 2 to fill it out. We've got 2 names in there at the moment, so that's 2 guaranteed pieces of swag.
One of the great uses of Workspace Studio that just popped into my old man's brain after you were talking about it was I saw Matt Simeon from Papamoa. he shared a great use case where they get their absences in through a form and then has a workspace studio set up to notify the tutor teacher and the office person about the absence. It pulls in the name, the tutor group, why they're away, when they're away, which all comes from the form, puts in an email draft out to the responder, which is the parent, and also to the tutor teacher as well. So a really fairly complex workflow, but it's all just step through, step through, step through. When you do this, do that, all clicks, drops it all in like an old mail merge. And, you know, looking at that, that's quite a lot of emailing that somebody's got to do. That can be automated. They're all as drafts and you can just send. So really nice little workflow there when you're looking at the absences that are coming in via a form or anything that comes in via a form.
Steve, just while we're waiting, could you, if something comes in via a form, could you set up a workspace to then add that person's email to a calendar invite? Or is that kind of like, because it has to go into the calendar to add it, is that kind of one step too far? Is that something that could be done?
It's a great question. I don't know, Donna. I'm not sure whether calendar is a step in there.
Oh, okay. We have 8 names so far, so we're just going to give you 1 more minute and then we will spin my homemade wheel. Thank you to Gemini Canvas.
And the interesting thing about Workspace Studio is also the fact that you can just ask Gemini at the very beginning what you want to do. And it actually creates all the steps for you. So this one flows there.
Okay. Are you ready to show Steve, or shall I spin the wheel?
I can. Whereabouts? Have you got the wheel?
I have, but I'm not going to share it because I don't think, well, unless nobody minds if we share names. But I'm happy just to spin it, and then I just kind of think because these are being recorded and then watching other people, I'm thinking about privacy. And
you spin away and you can tell us who the winner is.
And I can tell you who the winner is. I just have to move the tab out of the way because Google Meet was in my way. So I have just moved it out of the way. All right, here we go. So first spin, and the first name that comes up is Natasha. Congratulations, Natasha. And I am just going to say I love the fact that Natasha was at the Maths PMA Day, because giving up a Saturday to do your own PL is fantastic. So I'm glad that your name came up, Natasha. Congratulations. All right, next name. So we're going with 3, aren't we?
We are.
We are. Okay.
It's like you're trying to fool me to say more. Yeah.
You know, we'll love a try. All right. Next one that has come up is Karen. Congratulations, Karen. And third name for today is Glenn. Congratulations, Glenn. So, Steve, you've put your email in there for those 3 to email you. Oh, I'm glad it was your first one, Natasha. Well done.
Nice.
All right, Steve, can you just flick to the next slide, and Rachel is just going to close us out. Next one, maybe that's...
Well, the mid-evening show is done.
Just shut that one
what
down.
What a great time with everyone.
But it's so good.
I know, but next one. We're running out of time. There we go. Thank you, Rachel.
Kia ora tātou. Kia whakaria te tapu, kia wātia ai te ara, kia turuki whakataha ai, kia turuki whakataha ai, haumie, huie, tai kie.
Thanks, Rachel. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. You have 1 day to go, and I hope you have an incredibly restful, those of you who get the holiday breaks, have a restful break, recharge, rest, don't do too much schoolwork, and we will see you next term. I will just stop the recording. Also stop the chat.